Hey, it's Jared from Strong Roots Farm. Today, this is Why Grass-Fed, Episode 2. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about why grass-fed meats may be a good option for you if you're looking to start a farm, change something in your farm, or perhaps it's not a good option for you. We're going to go over all that today, coming up after this. All right, you've bought a farm or you're thinking about buying a farm and you're trying to choose what you want to do. And today we're going to talk about why I think grass-fed meat products are a good option for you. So, reason number one is your options. Okay, so there's many different things that you can do on the same plot of land with the same infrastructure that we're going to talk about here in a minute that you can also stack, which means you can do the same animals back to back to back. So for instance, you have beef cattle, dairy cattle, pasture-raised pork, lambs, goats, either dairy or meat, turkeys, meat chickens, also called broilers, layers, egg chickens, and finally rabbits. All of these options can be stacked on top of each other. So you can have your cattle, followed by your chickens, followed by your turkeys, then followed by your lambs if you wanted to. You can have as many or as little, and you can grow as you need to. So you can start out slow with a low investment, grow your market, grow your products, learn what you're doing, and grow all of these together, or only the ones that you like. Reason number two is low capital investment. For the most part, all you really need to make grass-fed meat products is fencing, the land, and water. Other than that, there are some minerals, there are shade structures, there's lots of other things you can have, but the basic capital investments, upfront costs that you need to get started are those three things. Whether you seed the grass, whether the pasture's already there, whether you're leasing a farm, whether you're buying a farm, if you have those three things, you can start growing today. Whereas with grain-fed operations or larger scale operations, you're going to need equipment. Here's a good slide that represents that. Reason number three is health. Grass-fed meat products are 5 to 10 times more nutrient dense and better for you than all grain-fed products. As a farmer, grass-fed products versus grain-fed may be a decision. There's pros and cons with both. But as a consumer, grass-fed meat products are literally superior in every way if they're done right. I guess that's the key. So you have this farm, you're looking about your health, you're going to have an increase in CLA, which is an anti-carcinogenic in your meats. You're going to have decreases in glyphosates because you're not feeding grains. So therefore, you have a lower risk of cancer. You're going to be walking more because you're moving these animals. And also, there's a stress reduction with having an animal. So just going out, sitting in the wind like I am here, seeing the cows behind me, or even being out with the cattle, it reduces my stress. Ultimately, grass-fed meat products are better for your health and will increase your lifespan. Reason 4, marketability. Grass-fed meats sell easily. Okay, so you raise them, let's say you raise 4 grass-fed beef, and you're gonna try to sell them to direct sales like we do here. You're gonna sell them to somebody. You can take that same animal that was raised on grass, no matter what, and take it to the market just like the big guy and get a price for it. You're not gonna lose money. But the marketability is there. Whether you're selling halves and wholes, or you're selling pieces, or you set up a little mini farm store, you can market this. Facebook, Instagram, all these things that we have in our new social media networks. Grass-fed meat is easy to market. The key is you must produce a good product. It has to be as good or better than the grain-fed guys. If you produce a product that's superior or even with grain-fed beef, people will pay an average of 10 to 20% higher price for grass-fed meat because of the health benefits, because of the risks of glyphosates, because of all the other things that go along with it as far as political issues in our country right now, whether that be the environment, whether that be knowing where your meat comes from, whether that's food security, whatever it would be, grass-fed meat is highly marketable. Speaking of politics, that brings us to reason number 5. There's some uncertainties right now. Grass-fed meat is a great way to add some food sustainability to your life. It stores well, it freezes. Grass-fed beef can last to up a year. So on pork, we try to stay 6 months. Chicken, it's 3 to 9 months. So somewhere in there, we try to produce our own products that we eat here on our farm. The same thing goes for you with food sustainability. Not knowing where your next meal comes from is a scary thing. Not knowing what the next shortage is going to be in your grocery store is a scary thing. This can alleviate that. Grass-fed meats are a good source of food security. The last reason number 6, is kind of going to depend on where you live. So we're in Ohio. Because I turned this piece of land into a farm, my taxes are now lower. So reason number 6 is lower taxes and a higher tax refund. I've now created a business. I can write off the things that I need here on the farm in my taxes, whether that's an LLC, whether that's a PMA, or whether that's strictly under your own Social Security number. My taxes, my land taxes are now lower in Ohio because of the farm, and I have a farm business that I can also write things off. Grass-fed meats can help increase your refund and lower your taxes. So I said I would tell you reasons not to do grass-fed meat. And there are several, okay? So one, your land base, how big your farm is, how big your piece of land is going to determine what you can do on it as far as grass-fed meat products go. If you want to raise grain-fed beef, you really only need a couple hundred square feet, okay, per animal. So you can jam them in a barn, you can bring them hay, and you can feed them grain, and you can produce some of the things that I've said were benefits of grass-fed, like food security. You can produce food like that. But it's not the same product. It's not as good for you. It's not the same taste. It's not the same quality. So there are some advantages to the grass-fed, but if space is your issue, grain-fed's a pro for that. It's limited space. You can have more animals on a smaller space feeding grain. Also, time. Grain-fed products tend to feed out twice as fast. So for instance, I can feed out a calf to finished weight cattle, steer, heifer, either way. I can feed them out in 8 to 9 months on grain. On grass, I'm looking at 16 to 24 months, depending on how good my grass is. Grain-fed can be faster. Grain-fed is also more forgiving. So I told you when we were talking about the quality of the meat products that as a farmer, grain-fed versus grass-fed, there's pros and cons to go either way. As a consumer, it's not even an option. Grass-fed is the best option that you have. It is the healthiest and best tasting option there is. But as the farmer, as you're choosing to farm, grain-fed, there's a lot of grace in feeding grain. Okay, so the cattle or whatever animal eats the grain. You don't have to know as much about it. It'll gain weight, and it'll be the product that you're looking for. A lot of people like grain-fed beef over grass-fed. I have people all the time ask me for that. So there are people. It is easy to market it. You can move the product if it's grain-fed, but grain is more forgiving. You have to have knowledge about grass if you're going to grass feed. And if you do it wrong, it'll produce a bad product. Let's talk a little bit about some of that. I think I need to, kind of clue you in on that. So why would I choose grass-fed if it's harder? Okay, so here's the reason, is the capital investment up front. We talked about that being a low capital investment for grain-fed. I'm doing it mainly for health, but as you start, the capital investment is a big deal. Grain-fed animals will cost you more money. You have more inputs. You have more equipment. So that's a negative for grain. But with grass-fed, I have to know what I'm doing. If if you don't pay attention to grass, if you don't have good grass, if you don't understand stocking densities, if you don't watch what's going into the animal, if you've never done this before, grass-fed can be challenging. To the point, if you care nothing about it, you just stick them in an open field on grass, you could produce a gamey, very lean, tougher product. A product that is not superior to grain-fed, which is why a lot of people like grain-fed, because it's consistent. It's easily done, it can be done anywhere, and it produces a consistent product every time for the consumer. Whereas sometimes if they go to somebody that they're buying grass-fed products from, or if it's the grocery store and they have no clue on who their farmer is, the grass-fed can vary from piece to piece based on stress levels, based on how well the farmer fed the cattle, lots of other things. But if you know your farmer and your farmer does a good job as a consumer, grass-fed will always be superior in my eyes. I'll go over that in another video. We'll talk about health a little bit more in another video on grass-fed. But as choosing to farm grass-fed, I will tell you that it is a negative. You need more education to raise a superior product. There's more reading and there's more things that can go wrong as far as management, not health of the animal, but management of your grass and of your farm. You should focus on being a great grass farmer, and that will produce a great product. All right, to do a quick wrap up here, go through the reasons again. Reason number one is your options. With grass-fed operations, you have multiple options that you can choose from. You're just getting started. This is definitely a benefit. Multiple animals, lots of different ways to make money, lots of different ways to feed your family and have food security. Reason number two was low capital investment. You're starting out, you don't have a lot. Grass-fed is a lower capital investment than grain-fed or other options that you can do. Reason three is your health. Grass-fed is way healthier than grain-fed products. It has 5 to 10 times the nutrients, it's increased CLAs, decreased glyphosates, and it's a stress reducer because you're moving your animals on grass. Reason number four, it's highly marketable. It's easy to sell. If you produce a superior product or even a product that matches grain-fed due to the health increases, grass-fed will sell. Reason number five, it's great food security. Grass-fed meats store a long time. They're freezable. You can vacuum seal them. They last a long time, adding a lot of security to you and your family. And reason number six is it's going to lower your taxes and increase your refund by starting this business and turning your piece of land into a farm. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Please stay tuned to these episodes. On the next episode, we're going to talk about labeling. So if a piece of meat you're buying in a store says grass-fed on it, what does that even mean? That's coming up next.